Just 1 year ago. I mean, a humanoid robot managing to just walk in a straight line, like without completely stumbling over its own feet, that was massive headline news. We were all just sort of marveling at the sheer mechanics of, basic bipedal balance.
Absolutely. It felt like a miracle if they just stayed upright.
Right. But today we are literally observing robots actively engaging in multi-shot tennis rallies with human opponents. I mean, they are returning forehands, they're blocking backhands, and shuffling fluidly across the court. It's wild. The timeline to mass humanoid adoption is it's compressing at a rate that defies pretty much all previous estimations. So, welcome to episode 452 of AI Brief. Today, for our deep dive, we have three main points we're really going to dig into. First, we will examine OpenAI's massive structural plan to basically double its workforce by the end of 2026. Second, we will analyze everything else in today's AI and robotics news, which features some really major physical world deployments.
Some truly fascinating physical world stuff, actually.
For sure. And third, we will break down the top trending AI tools engineered to boost your productivity, focusing heavily on how they actually integrate into a developer's daily workflow. So, jumping right in, we are seeing this really fascinating parallel right now.
How so?
Well, while robotic advancements are accelerating in the physical world, like we just talked about with the tennis robot, the corporate expansion powering the software industry is moving just as aggressively. Like, OpenAI is currently executing a plan to nearly double its entire workforce.
That is a staggering logistical undertaking for any company.
It really is. They are moving from roughly 4,500 current employees to about 8,000 by the end of 2026. And this hiring blitz, it's heavily focused across product development, engineering, research, and sales. But, the most interesting detail to me is this massive push to recruit specialists for what they are terming technical ambassadorship.
Technical ambassadorship, that's a very specific phrase.
Exactly. These are people being hired specifically to help legacy businesses actually use and integrate these AI tools effectively. And I should mention, all of this is happening under the umbrella of an $840 billion valuation.
Which is just an astronomical number.
Right. It's backed by big tech, backed by SoftBank, and it's heavily driven by this absolute necessity to outpace competitors like Google. So to contextualize this shift for you, the listener, think about the early days of enterprise computing.
Oh, that's a good comparison.
Because building the supercomputer was only step one, right? It's like giving a Formula One car to a daily commuter. The engine is infinitely more powerful, sure, but if you do not have a whole team of engineers teaching that driver how to actually use the complex steering wheel and read the telemetry...
They just gonna crash it straight into a wall.
Precisely. They'll crash it immediately. So OpenAI has essentially built the digital supercomputer. And this current hiring blitz, to me, proves they now realize they need a massive army of translators, like specialized pit crew, basically, to teach legacy businesses how to plug it in and make it work. So why is this shift from, pure research to these technical ambassadors the critical battleground right now?
Well, I mean, the transition really signifies that the technology has officially exited the lab phase. It is now entirely in the deployment phase. Because, during the lab phase, the core objective is simply to prove that your statistical model can generate coherent outputs or solve complex logic puzzles.
Just proving the math works, essentially.
Exactly. And the valuation of a company in that phase is based entirely on future potential. An $840 billion valuation, however, that is not based on potential alone. It is based on the expectation of ubiquitous, widespread enterprise integration.
They need every Fortune 500 company hooked into their system.
They absolutely do.
Yeah.
And these technical ambassadors are the necessary bridge for that. The technology is ultimately only as valuable as a company's ability to seamlessly integrate it into their traditional, everyday business workflows.
I have to push back on that just a bit, though. I mean, isn't an $840 billion valuation still mostly hype at this stage? Are legacy supply chain firms or, massive financial institutions, are they really going to hand over their proprietary routing data or their private customer databases to some OpenAI ambassador right now? It just seems like a massive leap of faith for a legacy corporation.
It is a massive leap of faith, which is exactly why the technical ambassador role is so crucial. They are essentially acting as integration architects.
Interesting. Integration architect.
Yes. Because they must possess a really deep understanding of the underlying architecture of a large language model, while simultaneously understanding the highly idiosyncratic workflows of a specific legacy corporation. They're not merely selling a software subscription here.
They aren't just handing over a login and password and saying, good luck.
Far from it. They are fundamentally redesigning how a business processes its internal information. Because think about it, if a global supply chain firm cannot figure out how to configure the model to optimize their specific routing data, then the model's underlying computational power is completely irrelevant to them.
It's useless if they can't steer the car.
Exactly. So the explicit focus on product development and sales alongside research, it indicates a real maturation of the foundational business model.
So, if I'm understanding this, in the early days of this industry, pure research talent was the primary bottleneck. Everyone just needed the smartest PhDs. But now the bottleneck is purely implementation.
Precisely. And the sheer volume of this hiring initiative, I mean, adding 3,500 people in a highly compressed time frame, that demonstrates a frantic race to capture enterprise market share before competitors can establish their own ecosystems within these large corporations.
Because once they are in, it's hard to get them out.
Exactly. Once a massive enterprise integrates one specific AI ecosystem into its daily operations, migrating to a competitor becomes incredibly costly and complex. The technical ambassadors ensure that the integration is sticky, that it is deeply embedded. They essentially map the neural network directly to the corporate nervous system.
Wow. Okay, we should probably shift our focus to the physical realm now, because while OpenAI is meticulously building the digital brains for the enterprise world, other organizations are rapidly constructing the physical bodies required to navigate our actual environment.
And I think the pace of these physical developments requires a highly deliberate, measured examination from us. We really need to look at this closely.
I completely agree. Let's take this piece by piece. When we examine something like the Unitree G1 humanoid robot, the recent visual demonstrations really demand careful analysis. We are not just looking at a machine standing upright anymore.
No, we are watching a robot actively engage in multi-shot tennis rallies against actual human opponents. And the underlying data point is what really merits deep consideration here.
Right, the data point is what is truly shocking.
It is. Chinese researchers achieved a near 97% success rate across 10,000 trials. And they accomplished this using merely 5 hours of amateur motion capture data.
Wait, I really want to emphasize that for you, the listener. This specific detail regarding the 5 hours of amateur data, it raises a very profound question. If an artificial system can ingest just 5 hours of unrefined amateur human movement and then translate that into a machine capable of a 97% success rate in a highly complex physical sport, what happens when these systems ingest thousands of hours of elite expert movement data?
That is the pivotal inquiry regarding physical machine learning. Because those 5 hours of amateur data, they serve as a foundational proof of concept for the learning architecture itself. The system is not simply memorizing a static swing trajectory.
It's not just playing an animation loop.
Exactly. It is building a generalized physical understanding of spatial coordination, of timing, and of real-world physics.
Just to clarify that point, when you say it is building a generalized understanding, you were essentially talking about how the robot dynamically links its shoulder, its elbow, and its wrist movements together to generate power, exactly like a human athlete does. Correct. It is calculating those kinematic chains on the fly.
That is precisely it. The robot synthesizes the most efficient kinematic chains possible in real time. So when you scale that input from 5 hours of amateur data to thousands of hours of expert data, the system is no longer just replicating human movement.
It goes beyond replication.
Yes, it begins optimizing it. It calculates the exact application of force required to return the ball flawlessly, actively adjusting its center of gravity dynamically as the velocity of the incoming ball changes.
It's a little terrifying, but mostly incredible. And if Unitree proves that humanoid robots can master highly dynamic movements like tennis using just a few hours of data, well, the immediate question is how soon this kind of spatial awareness hits the streets, which completely explains Amazon's quiet acquisition of River.
River being the Swiss startup engineering those quadruped robots, correct?
Yes, exactly. These machines are specifically designed to carry packages from the delivery vehicle directly to the customer's front door. Now, Amazon previously backed the startup through its $1 billion industrial innovation fund.
They've had their eye on them for a while.
They have. And Amazon already operates over 1 million robots within its fulfillment centers. So this acquisition really represents their definitive, calculated move beyond the flat, perfectly controlled warehouse floor and out into the unpredictable physical world.
The specific choice of a quadruped design for this is highly intentional and deeply pragmatic.
Why not just use wheels? Wheels seem so much easier to engineer.
Well, a traditional warehouse robot utilizes wheels because its environment is meticulously mapped. It is entirely flat, and it is free of unexpected obstacles. But a doorstep delivery robot faces an entirely different reality.
It has to deal with the real world.
Exactly. It must negotiate curbs, steep stairs, uneven pavement, and unpredictable debris like abandoned bicycles or discarded boxes. Articulated legs provide the necessary adaptability for vertical and irregular traversal. But navigating the physical world requires more than just mechanical
I see
capability.
it's the map.
Yes, it requires an extraordinary amount of spatial intelligence to actually understand the terrain being traversed.
Which brings us to a development that I find incredibly fascinating and honestly slightly astonishing. It is the surprising connection between mobile gamers and these autonomous delivery bots.
This sounds like science fiction when you first hear it.
It really does. For nearly a decade, millions of Pokemon Go players have been walking through cities looking at their phones and inadvertently building a massive spatial database. Since 2016, the game has assembled over 30 billion real-world images.
30 billion, that scale is hard to even comprehend.
It is massive. And Niantic Spatial, which is the developer behind the game, is now officially partnering with Coco Robotics. Now, Coco already boasts around 500,000 successful deliveries in major cities like Los Angeles and Chicago.
They are a proven entity in the delivery space.
They are, and they are utilizing this massive crowdsourced visual map from Niantic so their delivery bots can accurately navigate highly complex urban environments. I mean, every time someone was walking around their neighborhood trying to catch a digital creature, they were actually doing free mapping labor for the future delivery fleet.
When we connect these developments, we see the two essential halves of the new robotics equation coming together seamlessly. On one side, Amazon represents the massive push for specialized physical hardware.
Right, the bodies.
Exactly. They are acquiring the mechanical platforms, specifically the quadrupeds, that are capable of physically traversing stairs and rugged terrain. On the other side, the partnership between Niantic and Coco represents the software half.
The brains and the maps.
Yes, it provides the crowdsourced spatial intelligence required for those physical robots to actually understand the environments they're walking through. Because a robot cannot navigate a complex intersection or find a hidden pathway if it does not have a comprehensive three-dimensional map of that space. The mobile gamers mapped the physical world, and the delivery robots are now utilizing that exact map to walk through it.
It's brilliant. All right, we are going to move from the futuristic landscape of physical delivery robots roaming urban environments to the highly practical digital tools that you can start using today to build your own systems.
The shift back to the software side.
Exactly. We're going to break down today's trending tools and define precisely how they function to boost your productivity, focusing on the actual mechanisms behind them. What is first on the list?
First on our list is Design Agent by Locuma. This tool functions as a dedicated designer specifically tailored for your AI agents.
Because usually developer UI is pretty terrible, right?
That's exactly the problem it solves.
Yeah.
When you're building an automated system, the user interface is often a secondary concern, which usually results in a very clunky user experience. Locuma automates the visual design process.
So it does the heavy lifting visually.
Yes, it ensures the interface through which users interact with your agent is both intuitive and structurally sound, without requiring you to manually draft the design elements or write the CSS from scratch.
It essentially takes the core logic of your agent and wraps it in a polished, consumer-ready interface automatically. That is incredibly useful. Next up is Claude Cowork Projects. This is an AI-powered workspace engineered to organize tasks, context, and files into one centralized hub.
Which is vital for keeping large projects on track.
Absolutely. Because instead of scattering your project documentation across multiple folders, cloud drives, and communication channels, Claude Cowork Projects acts as an intelligent repository.
And the mechanism that makes Claude Cowork Projects truly unique is its persistent context window.
Meaning it remembers what you were doing yesterday.
Exactly. It synthesizes the files you upload and tracks the ongoing tasks, allowing the artificial intelligence to maintain a comprehensive understanding of the entire project's scope and history. You do not have to re-explain the premise of your project every single time you log in.
Which is the biggest friction point with most chatbots right now.
Absolutely. The AI remembered the architectural decisions you made last week, and it applies that context to the code you were writing today.
That is huge. Okay, then we have Fractal. This is currently positioned as the fastest way to ship exceptional ChatGPT applications. Fractal focuses entirely on deployment speed.
Deployment is usually where side projects go to die.
Exactly. It provides the necessary infrastructure so a developer can take a core logic chain and package it into a functional application rapidly. It completely bypasses the traditional delays associated with setting up back-end architecture, server provisioning, and database routing. You build the logic, and Fractal handles all the deployment pipelines.
Next, we are also looking at Cursor Glass. This is a unified agent workspace featuring seamless cloud handoff capabilities.
Cloud handoff. How does that work in practice?
The critical mechanism here is the continuous nature of that handoff. You can initiate a highly complex, compute-heavy agent workflow on your local laptop. But when you need to close your laptop or you just need to free up your local memory, you can smoothly transition that ongoing process directly to the cloud without interrupting the agent's task.
Oh, wow. So it just picks up right where it left off on the server.
Exactly. It creates a fluid, uninterrupted environment between your immediate workspace and remote servers.
That solves a massive bottleneck for independent developers who, do not have massive local computing power. Okay, fifth on our list is Control. Now, Control operates as an agentic IDE, which stands for Integrated Development Environment. What makes Control truly unique is that it actively teaches you how to code while you build alongside the artificial intelligence.
It is a brilliant approach to upskilling. Rather than just generating a block of Python and telling you to paste it into your editor, Control acts more like a senior engineer sitting over your shoulder.
Explaining the why instead of just the what.
Precisely. It breaks down the syntax and explains the structural decisions in real time. If you ask it to build a specific database query, it will highlight the variables, explain why it chose a particular framework, and outline potential edge cases. It accelerates your immediate project build while actively compounding your long-term coding skills.
That is an amazing tool for beginners and mid-level devs. Finally, we have Replit Agent 4. This tool is designed to allow you to build, design, and ship anything AI-related incredibly fast within a single workflow.
Replit has been moving so quickly in this space.
They really have. Replit integrates the agent directly into the coding environment. So the transition from initial concept to a functional shipped application happens in one continuous sequence. It completely removes the friction of switching between a design platform, a code editor, and a deployment server. The agent handles all the connective tissue between those steps.
It really streamlines the entire creative process.
It does.
To conclude our deep dive into these sources today, I want you to consider the underlying implications of that Niantic spatial mapping data we discussed earlier.
It is a thought that has been sticking with me since we brought it up.
Because millions of people inadvertently mapped the physical world for delivery robots simply by catching digital Pokemon on their mobile phones over the last decade. It forces us to ask a profound question. What everyday digital habits are you engaging in right now that might be secretly training the next generation of physical artificial intelligence without you even realizing it?
That is a phenomenal question to leave you with as we conclude our analysis of the source material today. The data we generate passively is often the most valuable asset we produce. If you found value in this breakdown, we encourage you to follow the podcast on your favorite platform. Please share AI Brief with a friend who loves staying ahead of the technology curve. See you in the next